with the bare minimum can you absolutely do? And you have obviously the idyllic image of people starting a company in their garage and essentially changing the world.
Welcome to Where Are They Now, the new CUNY Startups podcast where we sit down with alumni from our startup programs and discuss their experiences, delving into their journeys, aspirations, and the unique experiences that the CUNY Startups programs have offered them. Not just to recount success stories, but also to unravel the challenges, the lessons learned, and the moments that define their entrepreneurial path.
Hi, thank you guys for coming on. It's great to have you, and I can't wait to hear about your journeys and where you guys are at now. Introduce yourself. Give us your name, what school you went to, and when you participated in one of our programs, and which one you participated in.
Sure, that sounds great. My name is Thomas Jumper. I'm one of the co-founders of Pixplore Social. I went to Adelphi University. We went through around COVID, so I would say around 2020, 2021, right, Zach?
I think so. It's been, I think
it's been a long time. And I'm one of the co-founders, and this is Zachary.
Yeah, I graduated from Baruch in 2018. I think so. We went through both. We went through first the CUNY Startup Health Accelerator. And then, we did the regular, what was it called? We did the regular accelerator. And then I think it was the Firefly Health Accelerator that they had at the time. So it was back to back. One was right before COVID, right as it was starting. One was during COVID. It's been pretty cool.
So these aren't even programs that we have anymore.
Oh, wow.
So this will be interesting. What were those programs like for you guys?
Yeah, sure. So the CUNY Startup Accelerator, it was great. It was takes a lot of inexperienced people and put them around people with knowledge. So they had mentors there with a legal background, marketing background, and all sorts, media, and also you had Remy there as well that helped really guide us along. And each team was assigned a mentor on top of that, so you could have one-on-one. But everyone was really accessible, and every single time we had a question, everything was answered. And if you want, I can tell you about the Firefly Accelerator. It was a very similar template, except now at that point it was totally online, and it was a lot of great connections we made, mostly with the New York City Department of Health. And it was definitely a really cool experience, and a lot of stuff moving very fast given the time.
How did the program contribute to your entrepreneurial mindset?
Sure. Yeah, and Zach, just jump in, cut me off whenever you like. But for the most part, we went in, and Zachary and I guess we still consider ourselves mostly inexperienced, always learning. And at that time, we would say we're really green and extremely inexperienced. It kind of really had us, fine tune our focus. What's the value that we're bringing to our customers? Let me back up. What do the customers need? What value that we're bringing to the customers? And kind of how do we put that on pen and paper? Like, how do we put together our pitch initially? And what's the bare minimum that we need to get up and running? And what essentially is the fluff that we could remove? What's big key things, like there's never really a hard launch date. It's mostly a soft launch date. Work with a couple customers and slowly build off of that and make sure you're providing real value and really shorten that loop between us getting feedback with the customer and us being able to do an update. And I know Remy was very big with, let's get a survey out. Let's get the survey out. Let's start getting information back even before your product's out. Confirm and keep reconfirming that this is the solution that you guys want to provide, and this is the problem that your customers are potentially feeling.
Okay, so tell me about your startup and what is it that you guys are doing to help your customers?
Sure. So when we went to the CUNY Accelerator, our startup was we had this beautiful dream that we were going to be able to make a feed that shows you in real time what's happening around you. Our idea was to show you bars, restaurants, really anything that you could think of, and you could see what friends are there. And it was a live updating feed that we'd have all these pictures and videos, kind of like, I guess, Snapchat Maps at the time. I guess came out with that feature. And that was our goal. But the problem we ran into was, most users who use any social network are not posting. That's what it simply comes down to. 9 times out of 10, people are consuming content. And even if someone posts, they post once a month or once a week if they're very active. So in order for a location-based social network to take off, we need a lot of content being posted daily, and it was never going to happen. during COVID, we hit about 300 to 400 users, and from there it started. We started losing users. We didn't have great retention, and I would say the average user would stop using our platform after 3 weeks. So since then to now, we've essentially left the project on pause, and now we're working on a updated version. And what we're focusing on now is the people-to-people connections. We went around to a bunch of college campuses, and the feedback we were hearing is before people know what they're doing, they want to know who they're doing it with, who they're hanging out with, and who's available to hang out. So what we want to do is essentially build like an instant messaging status for in real life, letting you quickly and easily let your friends know that you're available to hang out and you're thinking about hanging out in Soho, who's down. And it's like a beacon that just goes out, and whoever wants to respond can respond, and it just gets the conversation rolling. And that's what we're starting off for right now, is that really small interaction, and hopefully we'll be able to build a platform off of that.
How big is your user base now?
We're still working with our internal alpha, so we have about 5 users testing the database, making sure any big bugs have been worked out. And so, yeah, definitely very small time right now.
Okay. So what is one of the hardest challenges that you've had to face in both of your startups?
The biggest challenge is, really understanding that customer and making sure that you don't go off on the deep end. And what I mean by that is you get an initial idea of what the problem is and your initial solution, and you want to build a fully built out app that solves that with everything thought out, and that it's a great platform because, when someone downloads the app, it's the first time they're going to have exposure to your company and your product, and you don't want them to leave and to get a bad taste in their mouth, which is, I'm sure there's opinions about it, but what we learned is that that's just abundantly wrong. That, our goal should be providing the most bare bones solution and constantly, taking that idea and refining it to a smaller and smaller version so that you're able to get it out, and so that you're able to build that iterative process quickly, that you're getting the user feedback and start figuring out what features or what you're doing right or what's needed in the future. And so that's the biggest issue. It's like simple stuff like profile pictures. Do we need them? Do we not need them? Do you have to edit them? Do you have to? Everything could end up soaking up so much time and resources, and that's probably the biggest learning curve that I would say Remy and the whole CUNY startup, and I guess our own personal experience has led to, is constantly simplify.
When you decided to pivot your focus, what was one of the biggest things that contributed to what you decided to actually end up doing? So
I guess it was a couple-fold thing. First off, the most important metric for us was user retention, and seeing it go from 300 to 0 definitely told us that we're doing something absolutely wrong. And, what we decided, and what I think really Zachary and I's mantra is that we don't know anything. No matter how educated, no matter how much time we spend researching on a particular subject, we really don't know what the solution is going to be. And so what we did was we went to a bunch of different schools, and we walked into the cafeteria and started interviewing people. And we probably talked to about 1,000 people. And from what we thought was people wanted to see what's happening around them, which they do. But the bigger thing is they were constantly talking about, what's the group chat, or what group chat do I message, like which friends are around, and just a lot of problems they were having with trying to get that initial hangout. Oh, they weren't sure if so-and-so was available. If I reach out to a friend 2 or 3 times and they're busy, I stop bothering with them. So like all these little things kind of led us to this point that, let's just make it as easy as possible to just start that first process of a hangout, of just letting you know who's available and giving users the ability to let their friends know they're available to hang out. So it was definitely a 2-stage process of a wake-up call that we're completely off the ball, and interviewing and surveying people, just understanding their problems, not asking them what they envision a solution would be, but just what is their problems they're interacting with on a daily basis.
What's your timeline looking like to actually launch this as a fully fledged product?
Sure. So we're hoping to have a soft launch in the next month. That's everything's coming together pretty rapidly. And that's kind of our timeline in terms of getting that alpha out. And our goal, again, stupid small, let's get it to 10 users. And we wanted to get to 10 users and see what their feedback is. And for us, yes, it's great to hear their feedback, but we also want to see if at the end of 2 or 3 weeks, if they're still picking up the app. That would be, no matter how bad our product is, if we're actually providing a value, they'll deal with the bugs, they'll deal with the problems, and keep using the platform. And so that's what our initial hope in the next month is, to get that feedback, to close that loop and get that feedback. In the meantime, a big thing that we've learned too is we have to build a community. And the other thing, so we've started building like a Substack, and right now it's focused on travel, but we're going to start a series about letting people know what's happening in New York City on a weekly basis. So we're hoping to just introduce ourselves to the potential customers and put us in the start building a community around potentially where we think our first initial customers will come to the platform.
What is your current plan to really grow the platform and turn it into something big?
Yeah, so a big thing that we're going to stay away from is paid advertising. We're not there yet. We don't have the intel. We don't, not the intelligence, but we don't have the intel on the ground of what exactly our customer is. We have a vision of our customer. We think our customer is somewhere between 20 to 40 years old who likes to go out and hang out with their friends. And so that's what our vision is. We think it's more urban settings, probably better off just because you have a more concentration of people, and it'll be easier for the platform to kind of snowball. But we have to prove that. And so initially, we're planning on starting off small and targeting amongst friends, family, and going out to college campuses, kind of rolling out the platform, seeing who be interested, who gets value from the product, and build that iterative process there. And from there, then what we're thinking about is partnering probably with micro-influencers, people in the space that focus more on New York City content and work kind of focus city by city, and really kind of judge us when do we pick the next city would be, since we roughly use a location, what city that people have their most friends in. And that's what I think. So it could be Miami or it could be LA, but we'll decide when we get to that point. Whatever the data, everything's going to be data guided.
So if you had a time machine, what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self when you were first getting into entrepreneurship and creating your startup?
I would give myself the lottery numbers. And then the second thing I would do is definitely just hammer it down. I guess the most two valuable things is, even before you have an idea, try to build a community as much as possible. This is something that we're just implementing now, and it probably would have been so much more valuable if we did this 5 years ago. Build a community, and because that's just a major resource. It's a gold mine that you could use somewhere else and provide value to that community. The other thing I would say is, again, just focus on what's the bare minimum in order to build your tool that you're envisioning. You might say, I need an app, but do you really need an app? Could it be done on a website? I think a great example is, I was reading an article where, a lot of people are spending months and months developing iOS apps. And, in reality, you could build a similar platform in a weekend on a website. It just makes it much more accessible. You build a website now, you're available on desktop, tablet, Android, and iOS, and it's a lot slower build and development time. So those are the two things. Make sure the product is super simple and build a community.
Zach, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Thomas hit on all the big points here. But I feel like the only thing that we would really change is probably, to solve the problem in its smallest capacity as possible. Even if it's unscalable, just to prove that there's a solution that works, and then iterate out from there, as opposed to jumping into the bigger, perhaps more complicated solution.
So another question for both of you guys. What got you into entrepreneurship, and what motivates you to continue?
I guess the biggest thing is, I know for me personally, and I think Zach shares the same opinion, is, we don't want to go down as we build a social network of some sort. It's been done. And what we want to do is be able to be in a position that we're able to build positive change in the world, and that we can have a positive impact. And I think entrepreneurship and those skills really helps to develop that. It helps, with the bare minimum can you absolutely do? And you have obviously the idyllic image of people starting a company in the garage and essentially changing the world, of being able to be a powerhouse and influential in a positive light. So I guess it's kind of the same motivation. It's like some type of self-control where you're kind of controlling your own destiny, and also just being able to focus and build something from that 0 to 1 process, something that from your dream to a reality, and hopefully positively impact people on the way.
You said it's a 0 to 1 process. Where do you think you are in that scale?
Like in life, definitely closer to 0. And in terms of this project, I would say we're probably halfway there for for a physical product, but we're definitely in the beginning. What was it? Winston Churchill said, "This may not be it's not the beginning, but it's the end of the beginning." So our hope is if we could initially get this app out, that we could start getting that loop, and that would be a huge accomplishment. Being able to talk to people, especially when they're able to have a physical product in their hand, or I guess a software product in their hand, would be a huge game changer for us.
Right, totally. All right. See you.
Have a good one. Thank you.